Let's begin building our cup. What was the first thing we needed when we built it here in Rhino?
Circle.
Circle, right? So where can we find the circle? Can anybody guess? I think I heard it. Curves, right?
Yeah.
So you go to the curves tab, and then from there you can go to your primitives, and it's actually, because it's such a basic function, you can see it. It's right here. I'm highlighting over it. It says circle. It has a circle and a square and 2 lines in it. So go ahead and click that and drag it on down. Circle.
What is the difference between that circle 3 points and that one? It's going to be...
So let me talk a little bit about this component here. I'm going to zoom in on it, get real nice and close. You can see it, start to see all the different pieces of it. You can see here, if you click on these, you have little tails that pop out of it, right? And that's the way you're going to connect these components together. So that's like you connect them to another one, or you can have something run into this one. So there's a lot of random letters and things on this, right? And so the best way to figure out what everything is saying is to simply just highlight over the top of it. So I'm going to highlight over this P. What is this P saying? It's saying plane. And then underneath that it says base plane of circle. And underneath that it says one locally defined value, world, X and Y. Right? So that locally defined value has to do obviously with right here. So this is our locally defined value. And that's the base plane for this circle. So this grid right here is that plane where that circle is existing currently. Just below the P, there's an R. So the R says radius. So radius of circle. And underneath that, it says one locally defined value, 1.0. Now what that's saying is it has to give you some kind of default, right? Otherwise there would just be nothing there and you wouldn't know what to do. So it's giving you a default value of 1. And that's why you see this small circle right here. So it's telling you that the radius of this circle currently, without plugging anything into it, is 1. Now you can go over here and highlight over this, and this is telling you basically what component you're using. It's the circle one. You can create a circle defined by a base plane and a radius. This component ran once. And then next to that, we have a C. This C says circle, resulting circle. So there's your output. Your inputs are on the left, and your outputs are on the right. So what it's telling me right now, because it's just at the default, it's saying one locally defined value, circle, radius of 1 inch. Now, over here in the radius area, we can obviously put inputs into this and create the size of our circle. We'll get there. Not quite yet, though. So everybody's got the circle component on their canvas, right? So what was the next thing that Rhino asked for? Can anybody remember? I don't think they asked for the radius. I'll do it right here. And I think you just said it right now. So circle, right? What does it say? Center of circle. So it wants to know, where's the center of a circle going to be? So if we go back to here, Grasshopper, we can see right here, if you highlight over this P, base plane of circle, right? So that's asking, where is this going to be, right? And actually what we need to do is we need to bring in another component piece. So let's go to the Vector tab, and let's click in the point area here. Let's click on this one right here. It's called Construct Point. So we need to figure out, this is going to allow us to choose that point. Now, did anybody notice anything very subtle on the Rhino screen? Right here we got a little X. So that X is because of this point. And the reason why it's in that location is because just like how the circle defaults itself to 1, one radius at the 0, 0, 0, this point is defaulting itself at the 0, 0, 0 point. And so that's why that is right there. And I'll do the same thing again, and I'll highlight over each one of these so we can kind of read them and see what it says. So this is for your x coordinate, and it does say a defined value of 0.0. And it's going to do that for each one of these. So you got your x, your y, and your z. This lets you know you're constructing a point from the x, y, z coordinates. And what's the output? A point. And that point currently is at 0, 0, 0. Right? So then what do we do next? So we're going to connect it here, like this. And look what happened. So now we've got our point and our circle. Now they're starting to relate with each other. And everybody's fine with being able to click and drag, right? And pull something in. Everybody's got that going. Okay. So one thing I want to show everybody, just to get an understanding of this, and it's going to be a little bit redundant. So I'm going to just move these slightly over. So what we need now is we're going to click on the parameters, right? And we're going to go to primitives, right? And in the primitives area, we're going to choose an integer. So where is the, there it is. And we're going to drop that right here. So an integer, right? It says contains a collection of integer numbers. So integers are whole numbers. There's not going to be any decimal places. It's not going to be 0.5. There's none of that. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. They're going to be whole numbers, right? So what we're going to do first is we're going to click on this integer, and we're going to set the integer to 0. So go ahead and click 0, and then click or type 0 and click commit changes. So what we just did right now is we said that this integer point is 0. And what we're going to do is we're going to plug it into x, right? And so what we just did right now is we basically said that we're saying at the x point, this integer has a 0 number in it. You can easily change this number. I don't want anybody to do that, but I'm just going to say you can change this number, and it'll change in Rhino. So everybody needs to learn how to do this really simple command. What we're gonna do is we're gonna copy. So Control C, you gotta select it first, and then Control C, Control V, paste it, and you get another one there. And we're gonna plug that one into Y, right? And then we're gonna do it one more time. Control C, Control V, and we're gonna plug that into Z, right? So now we've got 3 integers set at 0 plugged into our x, y, and z axes, right? And so what we're doing is we're setting the location of where this circle is going to be. Now, does anybody realize how redundant that was? This component by itself, without these integers, already had it set at 0, right? They're already set. That's their default. I'm just letting you guys all realize that you can plug things into it and you can change it from the default. Now, go ahead and keep all these here. These will be useful. Okay. Does that normally happen? Okay, so what does the circle ask for next, right? Or what's the next step in Rhino that we had to do, right? Radius, right? So you got to figure out how big the radius is going to be. Now, we aren't going to use the default, right? Our default from yesterday was we had 2 different circles, right? So let's say the bottom circle Can anybody remember what the
1 point.
radius was? 1.25? Okay. So let's go to the same exact area and parameters. And this time, because it's 1.25, there's decimals, we're going to use numbers. Now numbers and integers, you can see how they're in the same area, and so they sort of have the same relationship to each other. The big major difference is here in numbers, you can set it, which let's do that now. Right click it, go to set number, and we're going to set that thing to 1.25. And we're going to commit it. Now that it's committed, we can now take that little tail and we can plug it right into the radius. And if everybody noticed, the circle got bigger, right? I just Control Z right now. I'm going to re-plug it back in, and the circle got bigger. So now the circle's at the right location, and now it's the right size, right? So we are on our way to making our first circle. Okay. So now, what do we have next? We have the second circle, right? Oh, yeah.
When you were selecting the integers, and I guess you were just deselecting them.
Okay, so somebody just brought up a good point right now. They're asking, well, my number is still orange. So what does orange mean? When you have an orange component, it means that there is no value assigned to it. You can see when I highlight over it here, it says empty number parameter. So if you have an orange one still and it is not gray or green when you select it, that means that you have not set your number in it. So what you have to do is you have to right click on that orange component, and you have to go to set number, and you have to type in that 1.25 and hit commit changes. You can't hit enter for some reason. I think you have to actually click commit changes. And from there, it went gray. So what does gray mean? Gray means that you assigned a value. Now it has a purpose. It's not just empty anymore. Now the other color is green. Green means you have it selected. So you can see how I selected that. You could select all of them. They'll all turn green. So did that answer your question? Did that help you out? Yeah? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to delete this number just for the sake of that we don't need it right now. Okay. So we need a secondary circle, right? So, yep.
So for points, can we use just one integer, like because all of them is 0 and connected to x, y, z?
That's a really good question. And you know what? Let's do that right now. Everybody, let's delete these two. And I'm going to teach you guys a little thing here, which is going to be super valuable. These things don't just connect to one. You can connect multiple tails like this. So what you're going to do is you're going to click it and you're going to hold down shift. You're going to see the little plus sign in the green right by my mouse right there. I think everybody can see it if I go up a little bit. So if you hold down shift, you're able to plug that in, and look right there. Now I've got 2 going into, now I can even have 3 going into 1. And you're definitely correct right there. Since the value of this is 0, why do you need 3, right? So in order to remove, let's say you did something that you didn't want to do, right? What you're going to do is you're going to hold down Control, and if you hold down the Control button and you get real close, you'll see it's red now. And that means I want to kick you out. So what you're going to do is feed it back into where you want it. So everybody's got that? Cool. So you can hold down, if you just, yeah. And that's how you get rid of it. And that's how you bring it back.